has happened here in this country to us over the last half a decade at least has been an operation of that embassy right there. We are part of what is happening to those in Sheikh Jarrah. This is not a paternalistic thing where we are looking at this place. We are part of what is happening there.
Friends, let us go from protesting to organizing. Let us pledge that if companies support the occupation, we will boycott them.
رسالتنا اليوم إلى الشعب الفلسطيني العظيم، نستلهم منكم ونتعلم منكم. احنا نعتبركم عبارة عن نموذج لكل البشرية بكل أنحاء العالم. نعرف في ناس سابقا بالتاريخ مروا بنفس المعاناة، بس بالنهاية انتصروا، لأن الحق هو أقوى من أي شيء ثاني. وبالإضافة إلى ذلك كنت أريد أقول احنا نعرف في منظمات كثيرة بهذا البلد عندهم علاقات عميقة مع الدولة الصهيونية، فاحنا لازم نزرع بذور المعرفة ونقوم بتوعية الناس عنهم، حتى الأجيال اللي جاية ورانا عندهم إدراك واضح عن هذا الشيء. احنا ما لازم نميز بين الصالح والطالح.
London is the hub of the hub of the hubs of delegitimization of Israel. The Zionist think tank, the Roy Institute, draws a distinction between two types of people that stand with the Palestinians: criticizers and delegitimizers. And the fact is, they have tried to mold us into criticizers through many different organizations within our society across the last few years. But we will stand strong and will not submit to that. We must have a literacy about the organizations which are trying to harm us in this country now, today. Just before I go, I want you to sing with me. This is for Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter. Long live Palestine! Long live Gaza! This is for Palestine, of course, the capital, Jerusalem. I know people marching to the wall and they're shooting them. Suppression is a question. Resistance is the answer. Long live Palestine! Long live Gaza! Long live Palestine! Long live Gaza! Thank you very much.
رسالتنا اليوم واضحة جدا كجالية فلسطينية وجاليات عربية ومجتمع بريطاني متضامن مع الحقوق الفلسطينية. يخرج اليوم للتظاهر ضد السياسات العنصرية الإسرائيلية وخاصة سياسات التطهير العرقي في القدس المحتلة وفي حي الشيخ جراح. والرسالة هي أن القدس هذه العاصمة الفلسطينية الأبدية بإذن الله تعالى يجب أن تتحرر من الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، ويجب أن تبذل قصارى الجهود من أجل أن يتم تحريرها في أقصى وقت ممكن، وذلك لأن القدس معروف أنها هي إما أنها سبب الحرب أو أنها سبب الاستقرار والسلام.
My name's Naila. I'm an activist in London, and obviously here because of the further ethnic cleansing in Sheikh Jarrah. We managed to postpone it to some degree before the court stopped it, but now they're starting again, and we have to stop it entirely.
Every martyr's sacred eye will open all the borders wide. It's gonna happen. It's almost time.
Today I'm here to try to send my word out about what's going on here today and what's going on in Jerusalem and Palestine in general. I don't think it's right. I think it should be stopped. It's very shameful how we just let this slide by. We always have to be here. We should be here a lot more. And the fact that we're here and we're not actually directly next to the Israeli embassy is not disappointing, but we could have done better. If they're not gonna follow the war laws, Israel, then why should we follow the British laws? And we should go further. We should go into the next to Boris Johnson's house. Whilst he's sleeping, we shout at him. Whilst he's out, we shout at him. Whilst we have to make sure that he stops.
So let's get together. Let's really fight back on this through the trade union movement. The trade union movement is a powerful movement. It must put everything it has into opposing these restrictions on our freedoms and put everything it has together with all of us into supporting the freedom for Palestine. Long live Palestine! Long live Gaza!
My name's Yassine, and I guess we're all here just to basically send a message of solidarity to the people in Sheikh Jarrah. You know, the UK and London has been one of the strongest places globally to show solidarity with the Palestinian people, and tonight, you know, there's an urgent need to kind of continue that, and so we're all here. The UK government, you know, the message is that they need to change the way that they, you know, behave towards the Palestinian people. Ultimately, their support for Israel is illegitimate because they are supporting, you know, crimes against humanity. Really, they're supporting apartheid, which is, you know, a known crime under international law, and you know, it's not legitimate for the UK government that we essentially pay taxes to be supporting a regime like that.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I want to thank you all for coming out. Despite the short notice, I want to thank you. As a Palestinian, as a human being, on behalf of PFB, I want to thank you all. But it's important that we do turn out, because what we are seeing today is ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in East Jerusalem. The Palestine's capital, East Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will always remain Islamic. It will always remain Arab, despite the ploys, despite the plots, despite the attempts to Zionify this region. There will always be the steadfastness of our people who endure. I want to salute the Murabitin of Jerusalem, those who stood steadfast and stand steadfast. They do not leave their homes, they do not sell their homes, they do not leave the field, and we will not leave them either. We will stand with them every step of the way, but we will stand with our brothers and sisters in Palestine regardless of the circumstances. But it's not just the Murabitin of Al-Quds that I am saluting today. I have a few questions. I have a question for Mahmoud Abbas, that wet rag. Where is he? He was in Gad's home recently. There is only doing away with violence. So I salute you all, and I say to you, let us stand fast. These traitor regimes in the Gulf, these imperialist regimes here in the West, we will stand against them, and we will see that this Zionist regime, this Zionist entity will collapse bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And I salute you as a son of Jerusalem, and a son of Palestine, and more specifically as a son of Sheikh Jarrah.
جينا اليوم إن شاء الله لندعم أهلنا في حي الشيخ جراح اللي قاعدة تهدم بيوتهم من قبل قوات الإجرام الصهيونية، قوات الاحتلال. إحنا الآن أمام سفارة الاحتلال الصهيوني لنوجه رسالة إنه أهلنا في حي الشيخ جراح مش لوحدهم، إنه إحنا في الداخل والخارج كلنا في صف مع أهلنا في حي الشيخ جراح ومع أهلنا في النقب ومع كل فلسطين المحتلة، ولن نرضى إن شاء الله بإعادة التهجير وإعادة النكبة من جديد لشعبنا الفلسطيني. ونوجه رسالة للحكومة البريطانية أيضا بأنه تتخذ قرار حازم كونها هي المسؤولة الأولى عن وعد بلفور وهم اللي جابوا هذا الاحتلال الصهيوني إلى أرض فلسطين، يجب أن يتخذوا قرار حازم لوقف هذا الاستيطان ولوقف هذا التهويد ولوقف هذا تهجير الأهالي.
رسالتي إلى جميع المناطق الفلسطينية بدون استثناء، إن كان في النقب أو الشيخ جراح أو في الضفة الغربية، طبعا القدس جميع المناطق، أننا معهم. الشعب البريطاني يقف مع الشعب الفلسطيني، ونعمل معا لمحاولة تغيير سياسة الدولة البريطانية الظالمة لفلسطين. بريطانيا كانت هي أساس المصيبة التي وقعت بالشعب الفلسطيني بداية بوعد بلفور، وتستمر الآن بأن تذهب القنصل البريطانية إلى الشيخ جراح يوم هدم بيت هناك وتأخذ صورة أنها تتضامن معهم. ما هذا الهراء؟ المفروض أن يكون هناك تغيير في السياسة البريطانية لمعاقبة إسرائيل على ما تفعله، بدل أن يتم تنمية التجارة معها.
حد الآن شفنا مؤخرا بسيدني أستراليا فوق 40% من الموظفين من مهرجان سيدني قاموا بمقاطعة المهرجان بسبب التمويل الصهيوني من السفارة الإسرائيلية. فإحنا مثل ما قلت نعتبر هذا الشيء نموذج اللي إحنا لازم نقوم بتطبيقها على الواقع المعاش هنا. إحنا نعرف في محاولات متعددة لتشويش الناس حتى يشوفون واحد اللي واقف مع الشعب الفلسطيني انه هو العنصري. لا، بالعكس، القضية الفلسطينية قضية عادلة وضد العنصرية.
الاعتصام هو رسالة دعم وإسناد لأهلنا في القدس عموما ولأهلنا في فلسطين، وذلك لكي نشعرهم بأنهم ليسوا وحدهم. فنحن مطلوب منا إنسانيا ووطنيا ودينيا أن نقف مع إخواننا. فالأمة العربية والإسلامية كلها كالجسد الواحد، إذا تألم جزء من هذا الجسد الأصل أن تسعى كل الأمة في السهر من أجل رعايته. فما بالكم إذا كانت المصيبة في القدس وهي موقعها كموقع القلب من هذا الجسد. على الأمة أن تتحرك جميعها قبل أن يفوت الأوان، لأن الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يحاول تغيير هوية هذه المدينة. الأمر الآخر الذي نخرج من أجله هو لإرسال رسالة للحكومة البريطانية. هذه الحكومة التي هي والحكومات السابقة لبريطانيا سبب أزمة الفلسطينيين، سبب مشكلة الفلسطينيين، ويتحملون مسؤولية تاريخية، ولكنهم اليوم في هذه الأزمة، أزمة التطهير العرقي، بسكوتهم أو ببيعنا الكلام المعسول إنما يشاركون الاحتلال في عمليات التطهير العرقي التي هم يقولون أنها ضد القانون الدولي. إذن هي رسالة لشعبنا في الداخل لدعم صمودهم، ورسالة للمجتمع البريطاني للتحرك كأنصار للقضية الفلسطينية ومحبي السلام، على أنه لا يمكن أن نقبل بتحويل القدس إلى وكر للعنصرية وللصهيونية، بينما هي مدينة للسلام.
إذا نقارن بين أما واتسون وبين جي كي رولينج، ونعرف جي كي رولينج شريكها بالعمل بالشغل، ومو بس هاي مديرها هو اسمه نيل بلير. نيل بلير يشتغل بمنظمة اسمها أبراهام إنيشيتيفز، مبادرات يعني إبراهيمية، يعني خلينا نقول، اللي هي مدعومة من الحكومة الإسرائيلية. فهذا نيل بلير عنده علاقات عميقة وثيقة وطيدة مع الحكومة الإسرائيلية. فمن هذا احنا نشوف عبارة عن تجسس وعمالة. وأما واتسون بالعكس تماما، هي ما سوى ولا شيء، هي قالت التضامن فعل، يعني solidarity is a verb، إنه إحنا لازم نتضامن يوميا مع الفلسطينيين وكل الناس المنكوبين من الاحتلالات.
Friends, let us go from protesting to organizing. Let us pledge that if companies support the occupation, we will boycott them. Let us pledge that if companies support the apartheid, we will divest from them. And let us pledge that our goal is sanctions, sanctions against the Israeli regime that lead to a free Palestine. Let us remind the politicians that being a friend to Israel is being a friend to apartheid. And let me repeat that again. Being a friend to Israel is being a friend to apartheid. Let us remind those politicians that if they make BDS impossible, if they ban it as they are threatening to, then we will take all of our energy, all of the energy of the BDS movement.
They're scared of us, and you know what? They bloody well should be. Our movement doesn't just get to the heart of British imperialism. It is a part and parcel of the movements and the resistance against racism, against austerity, against climate inaction, and every other movement for social justice. And we know the solidarity that we encompass. We know our strength, and we know that when they support the crimes against the Palestinian people, when they attack our movement, when they pass the police and crime bill, and the nationality and borders bill, and the spy cost bill, and whatever else that they're cooking up, that will only make us fight harder, to make their laws unworkable, to keep organizing and keep mobilizing and standing up for what is right. Am I right? Are we gonna keep protesting? Are we gonna keep standing for Palestine? If we are, then let me hear you say, no justice! No justice! No justice! When I say long live Palestine, you say long live Sheikh Jarrah! Long live Palestine! Long live Sheikh Jarrah! Long live Palestine! Long live Sheikh Jarrah! As loud as you can so they can hear you! Long live Palestine! Long live Sheikh Jarrah! Long live Palestine! Long live Sheikh Jarrah! If you haven't already, join Stop the War, join PSC, join the organizations that have called this demo, and let's keep fighting solidarity!
Lift Ali while you hide! Fly the flag, fly it high! The siege on Gaza! The occupation! The border wars! The siege on Gaza! The hold-down system! The hold-down system! The hold-down system!
نوجه من هنا من لندن أمام السفارة الإسرائيلية أننا نتضامن مع شعبنا في كل أماكن تواجده، وبالذات في الشيخ جراح وفي النقب وفي تلال الخليل الذين يتعرضون لهجمة مسعورة لتطهيرهم عرقيا. فنحن من هنا نقول لكم أننا في حملة التضامن مع فلسطين والمؤسسات الأخرى سنتضامن معكم وحتى يحقق الشعب الفلسطيني جميع حقوقه. Free, free! Free, free! Friends, I speak to you not only as the chair of the PSC, but as a Palestinian from the capital of Palestine, Jerusalem. Not only that, but I have a very special attachment to Sheikh Jarrah. One of the houses that is threatened with eviction belongs to my cousin. So it's a very personal issue.
Not only that, not only are these families threatened with eviction, my cousin's son has been detained in prison without charge since the 10th of August. Murad Atiyah is that person. He is an Arabic language teacher, and he was about to submit his dissertation for his master's. So I want you to shout from here, "Free Murad Atiyah! Free Murad Atiyah! Free Murad Atiyah!" Now you've heard quite a bit about what's happening in Sheikh Jarrah. What happened over the last couple of days is the most appalling, the most evil act of destroying a family's livelihood and then destroying their home and throwing them out on the street. No normal state would do that. And as a previous speaker said, Israel is certainly not a normal state. But the week before, they also killed, the Israeli military mowed down an elderly man. Sheikh al-Adlul was mowed down because he used to stand against them simply armed with a Palestinian flag. So raise your flags proudly. Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! The other area that is being attacked very severely is the Naqab, which is the southern part of historic Palestine, where the JNF and other organizations are trying to turn the desert green. But they're not doing it in empty areas. They are displacing Palestinian Bedouins from their homes, from their villages, and they are resisting. And what has been really, really heartening to see is the number of young people and the number of women who've also come out and have led that fight. And in PSC next week there will be a webinar where we'll be talking about the Negev in particular. So please look at the PSC website for that. So the oppression occurs all over Palestine. Now, one of the things you might say, what is the British government doing about this? Well, just before the garden centre was demolished, the British Consul General went and stood and had her photograph taken, as do the EU ambassadors or delegations and others. The US one doesn't come. That's not enough, is it? It's absolutely shameful that our government here, this country that was responsible for the Balfour Declaration, for the dispossession of the Palestinian people, all they can do is go and take some selfies. That is shameful. Shame on you, Britain. Really shame on you, Britain. What should be happening is that they, instead of standing up against Russia and the Ukraine because they don't want an occupation to happen, where there has been an occupation in Palestine for as long as the Palestinians can remember, caused by Britain, supported by Britain, and it is time the British government started acting like the democracy it claims to be, listened to the people, stood with the Palestinian people until they are free. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you.
Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! I'm going to say something, you need to say, shut it down. Are we ready? The occupation! Shut it down! 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 The border walls! Shut them down! The border walls! Shut it down! The border walls! Shut it down! The border walls! Shut it down! The siege on Gaza! Shut it down!
Good evening, everyone. I'm here today on behalf of UCU, which, if you don't know, is the biggest trade union for college and university staff in the world, and we stand utterly united with the Palestinian people's struggle for freedom. We are proud as well to stand alongside numerous other trade unions in the global solidarity movement, not just in Europe but around the world. We know why we're all here tonight. Mohammed El-Kurd, the Palestinian writer, activist from occupied Jerusalem, raised the alarm this week about the ethnic cleansing in Sheikh Jarrah and across Palestine and said it was rapidly escalating. They said what you do and say now about what's happening in Palestine will go down in history. He said, reminding us all that silence and inaction during these moments equals complicity. And that is why it is so important that we are here tonight outside the Israeli embassy. The expulsion of the Salihiyah family from their home on Wednesday morning by the Israeli occupation forces, the bulldozing of their home, the beating of a 9-year-old Palestinian girl is all the more horrifying because it is normal in Palestine. Apartheid isn't an insult, an abstract category, or an analogy. It is a material reality every day for Palestinian people. A daily reality of exile, violence, ritual humiliation, ethnic cleansing, dispossession, and expulsion. Having flattened hundreds of Palestinian villages, its founding act in 1948, Israel has demolished more than 49,000 homes in occupied Palestine since 1967. And let's remember that Israel's terrorization and dispossession of Palestinian families in East Jerusalem captures the essence of settler colonialism. Palestinians whose homes were built in Sheikh Jarrah in the late 1950s were already refugees. They were expelled from their homes in other parts of Palestine during 1948. This means that Palestinian families whose homes are being bulldozed as we speak have twice been expelled and exiled from their home and land. And we in Britain, and I know this has already been said this evening, but I want to say it again, we have a very special responsibility to the Palestinian people. It was on our watch, the people in all of the fancy houses up this road and elsewhere in London, it was on our watch that the settler colonisation of Palestine began more than a century ago. So I am proud to stand here this evening on behalf of you and so many others in the trade union movement, but our solidarity must be tireless, pushing the British government to hold Israel to account, and that should start with sanctions to halt the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from their home in the capital city of Jerusalem. I have a message for anyone this evening who is in a trade union or who isn't to be active in your union and to find out what is happening in your branch on this issue. Our silence cannot, our silence will be inaction and will be complicit. Palestine!
Palestine! Free, free! Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free!